Hello and welcome back, everybody. This is Mystic Games. Today we're going to be talking Against the Storm, but we're going to be doing something a little different. So normally I just cover a topic like a tier list, or I talk about the game overall. Recently we did a biomes tier list. They also announced an additional biome as soon as I finished that tier list for the new DLC. So I was thinking, what would be really cool biomes ideas, because each biome seems to kind of have a gimmick other than the Royal Woodlands, which is kind of like your, I would say, basic non-gimmicked biome in the game. So I wrote up this, you guys can see before you what's on my screen. It's not the most exciting background, but this is going to essentially give all the information on what I would like to see in Against the Storm for our map. So I call it Farming for the Crown. Pretty much the whole idea of this map will be farming. I'm a big fan of farming. I think it's a cool mechanic, a good source of food, and pretty much my thought process was there's no map that has high fertile soil on it. Like, everything has average or low. So I was thinking, what would be a cool, unique map design around fertile soil that would be a cool biome. So the idea is that you would start with like 10 through 12 fertile soil and a storehouse that every year after the second year you must send packed crops or raw food to the Citadel. Essentially there would be buffs, essentially like rewards for sending food, and there would be consequences for not sending food. So obviously, I kind of just wrote out numbers that sound good to me, but I'm not the developer of Against the Storm, and therefore I'm not going to say these are the best numbers, and if they were to choose to take this idea for me and change numbers, I wouldn't be offended. But the idea for this would be there'd be different tiers you can send. Like, you could send 25 food, raw food, 50 raw food, or 100 raw food. And then I also put packed crops, like maybe packed crops wouldn't be 25, maybe it'd be 7 or whatever. You'd have to do the math on how much raw food would be required for a packed crops, because I would assume packed crops would have to be either around the same amount or kind of maybe a bonus, like you would need a little bit less than you would for raw food or something like that. But, so each year you must send it before the storm, so you probably have to send it at the end of clearance. And you would be rewarded. So at Tier 1, if you send 25 raw food, you get 10 amber. Essentially you get rewarded from the crown. They get their food, you get a little amber to help make sure that your colony keeps, thriving to send them more food. Tier 2 would be like 15 amber and a choice between 2 farming perks. Now these could be special farming perks or just regular green farming perks, like, you harvest a little faster, something like that. I could see them going different routes with the farming perks. I also then did Tier 3 perks would be like 20 amber, choice between 2 green farming perks, and then a special map perk bonus perk. That's special only to this specific map that you would be able to get. Below I did special map bonus perks right here. I'm just going to highlight it. So what I did for that was like one idea would be maybe you just get a +1 to all farmed resources. That means you don't have to specialize on a specific farm. It would just affect all farms. And that's why I made the perk very open-ended. Like, if you wouldn't want to give them 2 or 3, because you wouldn't want to make it too strong. But you can give 1 to all farmed resources. So it would affect small farms, plantations, the herb garden, etc., etc., etc. Number 2 is like maybe you locate the nearest rich fertile soil, which we'll get into what I consider rich fertile soil. Something that would be unique to this map. And then maybe farmers take less breaks, so anyone that's working on a plantation or a farm or any type of, food building that is, using fertile soil, they would just get reduced break times. Farmers gain +3 resolve, so like anyone that's connected to a plantation or a small farm, for example, would just get a bonus +3 to resolve for being connected to that building, which would be neat because there's nothing that they don't really do that right now. Like humans get a plus 10% to double production, but they do not get any bonus to like resolve. And I was like, it'd be actually really cool if you just had a special perk in this map to give more resolve to the farmers. Farmers would also have like maybe a perk that would help them, have a chance to unearth parts, wildfire essences, ancient tablets. These things could be done together, or it could be like you get, you might get this perk along with the +1 to all farmed resources, plus farmers take less breaks, and those are your 3 options or whatever, and then you have the choice for unearthing parts 20% or something like that, or that might be too high, but like maybe 10% chance to get parts when you farm up resources or something like that. I thought that would be a really cool one. I would probably do something like that and break them apart rather than put them together. I just put different ideas for different things. So 6 would be like gain access to a specific food on all fertile soil buildings, and that would be similar to mushroom seedlings, cornerstone. So like you can harvest meat or something like interesting like that. I'm just making something up, but maybe you can harvest meat, right? And all buildings would gain access to being able to harvest a certain amount of meat or something like that. So you could plant different resources that you might not have access to. Something like that. I thought those would be like just cool ideas. Obviously, again, open to more, ideas from people. But I think those would be really cool ideas to throw in the game. So failing to send food would also have negative consequences, and so I did for essentially the same things, same different tiers. So the first time you would fail to send, you get 1 impatience, and you would owe them 10 amber. There is a negative storm consequence that if you don't, it's like you have to pay tax essentially. So it'd be similar to probably that mechanic where they would see at the end of clearance if you sent them anything, and if you didn't, they would be like, okay, well now you owe us 10 amber because you sent us no food. The next time you miss it, you would gain 2 impatience, owe 15 amber, and maybe it would slow new villagers coming to your settlement by blank percentage, which makes it harder because why would the crown send you caravans of new people to assist you if you're not sending them resources, right? I'm trying to be somewhat thematic here. Tier 3 would be like 3 impatience, you owe 20 amber to the crown, slow villager percentage by blank percentage, and then maybe you lose some of your stored food. Essentially, because you didn't just give it to them, they just start taking food from you. And again, any amount or percentages could be based on the game designer. I'm not going 100% in depth on this. So the idea would be like, the name for it would be like the Wild Plains. Plains tend to have good access to fertile soil. Maybe the additional effects here, this is kind of written out like when you click on a biome. The same idea, I just have it written instead of having pictures. But the additional effects would be you'd gain a storehouse, which allows you to send food to the crown. The map has many fields, which essentially means it has high fields. Almost every glade, if not every glade, will have a different form of fields in it. Trees would have probably wood, insects, and 5 stone. Like very low amounts of insects, low amounts of stone percentage. In trees would only provide 1 wood because this would be like more plainy, and the idea would be there's a lack of wood there. You have a lot of access to building food, but not a lot of access to wood. Natural resources could be like insects, eggs, mushrooms, berries, stone, reeder, leather, and then like some sort of, I said fish in particular, but you could do anything. I think fish would be the most interesting though. Make it very food-based map. So then you would have fertile soils, a high amount of fertile soil. And then I said for this map, I thought it would be a cool idea to make maybe special fertile soils. So maybe on this map you would get a rich fertile soil, potentially, like when you open a glade, which would be if you plant on it, you gain 25% more food from this soil. So if you put a plantation down and you get 6 berries, 6 plant fiber there, you would probably get 7 or 8. I'm not sure what the math would be for 25% of that, but probably be 7 or 8 you would get instead. And then you would have the regular fertile soil, which would be normal amounts, and then you would have the barren soil, which would be 25% less food. You could also take both these numbers, obviously, again, not game, I'm just throwing things in for ideas, but you could make that 50%, and you can make this 50%, right? But I thought that would be a cool idea for a map biome, so I just wanted to share this with you guys, because obviously I put it on YouTube. You never know, maybe it pops up, and they're like, man, that's a cool idea, and we'll do something like that. My guess is that eventually, next DLC, we'll probably get another species, and I'm assuming they'll probably try to give us 2 more maps next time. So I thought something with a high amount of fertile soil would be super cool. Something with a farming theme would be awesome. And then I was actually thinking, after I was making this outline essentially, about a map that would be the opposite, because I think we only have one low fertile soil map as well. I'd like to see another low fertile soil map as well, with some sort of concept, but I'm not sure what that concept would be. So honestly, if you guys have some cool ideas, leave them down in the comments below. I always like to hear people's ideas. Tell me what you guys think about this. Like, if you were to do something like this, how would you do it? Like, what kind of tiers would you have? What kind of special map perks do you think we should get for something like this if this was to be made? And just throw it down in the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great and wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later, everybody.